Well, look at me getting fancy with a title card and everything. Don't worry, that's probably going to be about as far as it gets with the fanciness of this channel. It's always going to be low budget, just like we like it. So, hello, hi, how are you? I'm still doing the bright and shiny thing. I have to stop that. If you get that reference, congratulations, you too are a nerd. Hi, how are you? Welcome back to Furry Friday, I guess we'll start calling it, where I talk about werewolves in the year 2023. I've got a good one to talk about this week, and I am so happy because I think this movie might have saved my life because I was starting to lose hope. But first, before we start talking about that, I want to direct your attention to the down below, what some people refer to as the doobly doo. I don't know why. Where there's going to be a lot of links today, and you might find some of them interesting, informative, necessary. So, um, last week, this past week, I was a guest on the Make Your Own Fun YouTube page with Eric Lawson, and we had a really nice discussion. There may be a couple of you who found this page because of that. Hi, welcome. If you want to check that out, it's like a half-hour long video. We had a really great talk, and I had a good time. Check out Eric's page, like it, subscribe. It's a good time. Also below, I'm going to link to the two previous videos that I did here on this channel where I listed out my favorite werewolf movies and my favorite werewolf books. They're two separate videos. Now, they're short. I don't do long videos here, but if you don't want to go through the whole thing, those books and videos are listed in the descriptions of those videos. So if you want to go through and see what I've previously recommended, it's there. If you want to recommend things to me, please refer to those first so we don't get duplicates because I've already seen a lot. Not everything. My list is not comprehensive. That's why I'm asking for help. Also linked down there is a link to my webpage. If you are new here and you don't know who I am, hi, my name is Summer Cannon. I am a horror writer, creative, and podcaster. I guess YouTuber. I don't know. I don't know if you can call yourself a YouTuber when you're sitting at your desk and talking to your phone. We'll see. But those are the introductions. Check out the links. There will also be links for how to find me on social media. You can follow me. I'm not terribly interesting, I don't think. I go missing for long periods of time, and it's a lot of pictures of my cats. So if you're into that, welcome. You know, you're in good company. If not, it's fine. You're not going to hurt my feelings. So, the movie. And you've probably seen a lot of people talking about this movie. I posted a post on here on YouTube last week when I first found it. Netflix last week on Friday started streaming a movie called Viking Wolf, a 2022 movie. And of course it showed up, I think Dread Central, or was it Bloody Disgusting? Oh my god. It was one of those who pointed it out, and I subscribed to both of them. And I was like, okay, new werewolf movie, gotta check it out. And it's good. It's good. The thing that, if I seem hesitant, it's because if you look it up on social media, if you look up what people are saying about it on social media, you're going to get the impression that it's like the best werewolf movie ever made. People get excited about things, and if I may take a moment to be a curmudgeon-y old person for a second, this is why I tend to not watch a lot of movies while they're still new and while they're still being talked about a lot, because here's the thing. The people who right now are saying this is the best werewolf movie they've ever seen, next year, this time next year, ask them about it. And they're going to go, oh, I barely remember that. Oh, yeah, it was good. That enthusiasm is going to be greatly diminished. Now, having said that, this is a good movie. I'm very happy it exists, and I was very happy to watch it. I will probably watch it again at some point in the future. I don't want to spoil it, so I'm going to be very careful when talking about it because I recommend it. I think you should watch it. Let's talk about the things that I maybe think didn't quite work with it. And a lot of these are personal. They don't matter to the movie very much. They're just personal gripes that I make about a lot of werewolf movies. The first being the CGI. I will always prefer practical effects when it comes to monsters, but particularly werewolves. Just because CGI can tend to look cartoony. Unless you've got Disney money, CGI almost never looks good to my eye. It just doesn't. And even with Disney money, sometimes it doesn't look good. I would much rather the guy in the furry suit running around with a Spirit Halloween werewolf mask on than the CGI. Now, having said that, this is not a big budget movie, which is never a bad thing in horror. That's not something I'm going to hold against it. But it may explain the CGI because practical effects are not cheap. You have to pay a team of people to do it. If you want it done well, it's going to cost. And I think CGI is more accessible to movie makers now. And honestly, that's just the way it's going to be. And while it's not my favorite, the design is good. This is a mangy looking werewolf. Like, it doesn't look healthy, if that makes sense, which I think was a nice touch because there is something kind of nasty about it. The second gripe I have about it, and it's, again, personal, there's a little bit of confusion over whose point of view we're supposed to focus on sometimes. We have our sort of gloomy outcast teenager, and then we have her mother, who is a police officer. And for my money, I think it would have been better if we'd always stayed focused on the mother, the police officer. I realized we had to get into the point of view of the teenager a couple times. I just think we get a little too much of it because in the end, it didn't pay off like I think the storytellers wanted it to. It's still a good movie. It was still an interesting story and it was well done. I just wish we didn't get so much of the gloomy teenager trope, which isn't my favorite anyway. Again, personal. Now, the things that I loved about this movie. This is a movie that knows its subject matter, and it shows absolute reverence and respect for its forebears. I counted no less than 3 werewolf movie homages in this one. No less than 3. We get an homage to Ginger Snaps. We get an homage in one scene, but it's important, to An American Werewolf in London. And we get an homage to the true OG, the Wolfman. And I really want to tell you what those homages are, but I'm going to spoil it if I do. Just please know that it made me very happy. I was very thrilled to see them. And I think you will be too. If you watch it and you want to talk about it, let's talk about it. Message me. We'll talk about it. If you want another video where I get more in depth about it, you have to promise you watched it first though, because I really don't want to spoil it. We will. Something else I liked about this movie. First of all, I loved the character of the mother who's a cop. This is a tough woman. She is up against men who sometimes, they don't overplay it, which I like. They don't overplay the sexism and the treating her like she's a weak woman. It happens once, and she shows these men up. She is tough. She is unafraid. She has a job to do, and she's going to do it. I think she's fabulous. She is very reminiscent of Claude Rains in The Wolfman, his Sir John Talbot. Again, I don't want to spoil anything, but if you know, you know. She's fantastic. Now, the final scene in this movie was heartbreaking. It was beautiful. It was simple. And it was perfect. It was perfect. When you're going to do something like this where you really want to do a bit of a gut punch, an emotional gut punch to your watchers, this is how you do it. I really liked this movie. So, yeah. Get on Netflix. Watch Viking Wolf. If you want to talk about it, I'm ready. Let's talk about it. Now, last night was Thursday. Thursday has become the To-Be Spiral day where I go and search out a good werewolf movie among their various offerings, and it hasn't been fruitful so far. However, last night I watched one that I was prepared to hate and was kind of thunderstruck that I didn't. I didn't hate it. It's not a good movie, but I still found it intriguing. I have things to say about it. A lot to say about it. But I have a habit of texting Mary Sangiovanni and Matt Wilderson, my co-hosts on the Ghost Writers podcast, when I'm watching a bad movie, because that's what we do. They're my movie buddies, and that's what we do. When either of them are watching a bad movie, we text the group. That's what we do. And I was texting about this movie and one scene in particular, and they were like, wait a minute, should we talk about this movie on the podcast? And they've said that about a couple of the other werewolf movies that I've watched on Tubi, and so far I'm trying to protect them and being like, no, I can't drag you down this hole with me. Let's watch something else. Let's watch something that has a chance of actually being good. And no, they outvoted me this time, and I think we're going to cover this werewolf movie next time we do an episode of the Ghost Writers podcast. I will say it's called Bloods versus Wolves. It is a movie it's the vampires versus werewolves trope, and it is what makes it unique is it takes place as like a turf war between two gangs, and the cast is mostly black, like almost all black. The few white people that are in this are such weenies, which I found funny, but it's very low budget, and there is a scene where a guy poops on newspapers, like a dog would. Some things you think you won't ever have to say to a group of people. There's a guy who poops on newspapers in this movie. That's a silly part in an otherwise kind of serious movie. And again, it wasn't bad. There was at least one person in this movie who was actually a very good actor. In these low budget movies, it's a lot of people who barely know how to recite their lines without skipping over something. There's a man in this movie who is actually a fabulous actor. And I was shocked by my reaction to this movie, because usually it's, oh, this is so bad, oh, the storytelling's so bad, oh, it's boring, oh, the effects. And they're, again, low budget, so we don't get much in way of effects. There's not much of a creature going on here because of the very low budget. The werewolves are just basically, they have teeth and long nails. That's what it is. But I ended up not minding. And there's kind of an intriguing story that's going on beneath the surface, and they flirt with telling it to us in its totality and don't quite get to it. And I think that's to do with the greenness of the people who made this movie, of the people who did the technical aspects of it, because there are problems there, and the storytelling. And I think there's a lot of potential there, and I just didn't hate this movie. So watch out for that on the Ghost Writers podcast, because I tried to talk them out of it. They wouldn't hear it. They wanted to watch it and talk about it. So we're going to talk about it. And I'm not mad about it, honestly. It's nice to see, look, without getting too much on a soapbox, when I'm watching these monster movies, when I'm watching werewolf movies, one can't help but see there's a lot of white werewolves, a lot of white people turning into werewolves, a lot of white people battling werewolves. Not a whole lot of diversity going on there. And variety is the spice of life. And I was happy to see this movie kind of actually scratch an itch that I had. So if you want to check it out, it's on Tubi, Bloods versus Wolves. If you want to hear us talk about it, it'll air the 23rd of February, I think. Watch us on social media. So that'll be it for me today. Check out the links below, pertinent information. Check out Viking Wolf. Again, it's on Netflix. You won't be sorry. And if you want to talk about it, let's talk about it. All right. Time for the daily battle with the freaking Bluetooth remote. Maybe one of these days I'll get a camera, but have you seen the price of those things? I'm a writer. I don't have that kind of money. You're going to get my cell phone and this awful Bluetooth thing. If I have to do extended battle with it, I will cut it out. But this has become one of my favorite shticks on this channel, my battle with the battle. So, see you next week. Hope we will talk about a book next week. So, be prepared for that. It's a fun book. It's a nasty, filthy little book. Be prepared. See you then. Bye-bye.